On today's episode of the Cryptoverse, I'm going to briefly revisit the MyCryptons game, which was that collectible game on Ethereum, because the developers say they're willing to make a Crypton out of me, so that's going to be interesting. We'll also look at Neon District, which is an upcoming RPG, which is role-playing game, which is also coming to the Ethereum blockchain, and we will segue into talking about a new tool that I've just added to my browser bookmarks, which shows you the top apps and their network usage on EOS. And you know, when I add something to my browser bookmarks, that's something to pay attention to. Before we do that though, let's talk about channel upgrades. Now, if you're not following me on Twitter, then you won't have seen this, but yesterday I tweeted out this picture. It says the Cryptoverse show is undergoing some upgrades. Look out for them. And there's my studio setup in a complete mess. As you can see there, with a whole bunch of new kit and so on. And I was careful what to include and what not to include. I didn't want to give too much away. But the reason I mention this is because if you're not following me already on Twitter, then please do so. And you'll see behind the scenes stuff like that. But also extra brownie points for anyone who spots any of the channel upgrades and then posts them in the comments. All right. So I'm not going to give anything away. If the upgrades are not obvious, that's bad. Okay. If you don't notice them, that's feedback to me. So if no one notices the channel upgrades, that's feedback in itself, right? Which means I need to go even further, right? But if you get them, extra brownie points for you, all right? So that's all I wanted to say about the channel upgrades. They're not all there yet, so you may see some, and they're going to get added over time. So it's in progress. I just had to ransack the studio yesterday, but I can get it to a point so I could record today. So it's in its, you know, minimum viable state to do the show. So that's that. But more to come. Let's go on to the MyCryptons game, because these guys are willing to make a Crypton out of me. Now, if you're new to the Cryptoverse, you won't have a clue what I'm talking about here, but this is the Chief Crypton. So the Twitter handle is @MyCryptons, and the game is called MyCryptons. And it's collectible, sort of unique collectible caricatures on the Ethereum blockchain. So you can check out the game for yourself, but basically they're using you can see some of these in the background, right? Mark Zuckerberg caricature and so on. And I was playing this game a little bit because it's a kind of a fun way of supporting the channel. So I bought some characters that I thought were going to go up in value, and then people were buying them off me, and sure enough, most of them did go up in value. Because I've got a little methodology about who I choose and how I choose them and when I choose them and what price. Above a certain threshold, I just don't think they're going to go any further. But I'm currently holding, I think, Elizabeth Stark from Lightning Labs, and also I think I've got Edward Snowden right now. I haven't got an email to say that they've been sold, so I think I'm still holding them. I've been holding them for a while. I think they're reasonably expensive, and that's another thing I'm getting from this game is people are only willing to pay up to a certain amount for average characters. I mean, your Donald Trumps and your Vitalik Buterins of the world are up at 10, 20, 100 Ethereum. So, but I'm, Edward Snowden and Elizabeth Stark, great people, bless them. But in terms of demand in the game, not that great. That brings them on to me. So this is the tweet. They say, @ChrisConey, that's my Twitter handle, chrisconey International, INT. We just found out about your video after 2 weeks, because obviously I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, right? So if you want to go back and check those out, you can do. They said, thank us a lot for your thoughtful review. We would love to make your Crypton. Send us a high-res facial shot, and we will have our artist transform it. Okay? So the reason I mention this is like, what do you guys think to this? You know, you're the audience. You're my you're people who I'm accountable to, I suppose. So questions are, how much demand do you think there will be for a chrisconey Crypton collectible? What features do you think they will emphasize in my caricature? You know, because you'll see, if you look at the MyCryptons, they pick out facial features and then they amplify them. That's what a caricature is. A caricature. So, I don't know. I don't know how the people see me. So, probably I might pick out the rosy cheeks or the bald head or something. What do you reckon, right? I know that's a golden opportunity there for the trolls to go mad, but I've said it anyway. So let me know in the comments, what part of my caricature do you think they will emphasize when the artists go ahead and do it? And should I do it at all? Also tell me that. So I don't get anything by having a Crypton created of me, unless I just play the game as normal, and I buy myself, I'm not by myself. No, if I buy my own collectible Crypton and then sell it to someone else, I'll just make a profit on that like any other Crypton. So the normal rules of the game would apply. So let's have a chat about this on social media. Full list of my social networks are available at cryptoversity.com/podcast. Let's move on to the next story. Neon District role-playing game coming to the Ethereum blockchain. So check this out. Neon District. neondistrict.io. I actually found out about this on Reddit, to be perfectly honest with you. So if you're not familiar with RPG games, it's a big format, you know, World of Warcraft. You take on a character and then you level them up and all the rest of it. I honestly think blockchain technology is a superb application, sorry, gaming is a superb application for blockchain technology, because the gaming economy and what you earn in these role-playing games is becoming so valuable that people are afraid that centralized servers with centralized control over how much gold you've got, you know, the possession of assets, swords, artifacts, that's a risk, because the World of Warcraft developers, they have ultimate authority over the game and can manipulate it if they wanted to. Now, it's not ethical to do that, and of course it would cause a ruckus if they did. However, it's still possible. Whereas shifting all these unique assets over to Ethereum, like the Kryptons game, right? No one can take that away from me unless they buy it and play by the rules. Similarly, if I own, you know, Aragon's sword, that's a made-up thing, by the way. But if I own, I've been watching Lord of the Rings, you can tell, okay, recently. Watched the Fellowship of the Ring, like, 2 days ago. Anyway, so if I had Aragon's sword, and then no one can take it away from me. You know, the game developers can't, none of that, right? So that's the RPG concept, and now Neon District is going to do this thing on the blockchain, right? So, but it's crypto-oriented. So I found this trailer. Supposedly this is the trailer for the Neon District game. It says Neon District Season 1. So you play the video, turn on the sound and so on. And there were some good comments on this. Some people were saying the trailer is kind of giving mixed messages. It's kind of partially utopian, partially dystopian, in the sense that the crypto community goes underground because the powers that be fought it and blah, 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 blah. But one question I have is if that is the real trailer for the game, why isn't it on their official website? Did you just notice that? You know, neondistrict.io, here it is. It doesn't really have anything going on other than this funny animation, the progress bar, links to the social networks, and an email sign up. Where's the trailer? Right? Why wouldn't you? If you'd spent, I mean, they must have spent some money on this trailer. It's full-blown animation, 2 minutes of good animation with a voiceover and everything. It's great. They've definitely spent some time and money on that, but why not put it on their website? So that's what makes me doubt whether that is in fact the actual trailer. But the trailer ends with the neon branding, so I'm like, that's really confusing. You know, I try and pride myself, no, don't say try. I pride myself on, as often as possible, fact-checking what I find out on the internet. So if someone claims this is the trailer for Neon District, I then start question everything. I'm like, why isn't it on their site then? So I don't have an answer for that yet, but again, it's not my job to answer all the questions. I'm just one of the participants in the discussion along with you guys. So let's have a discussion, right? So I think it's a good idea that they are making it crypto-oriented, because if they want adoption, then they should target early adopters and innovators. You know, that's the crossing the chasm language from that book, Crossing the Chasm, how to get from innovators and early adopters to the mainstream. And it's a thing that all technology, new technology has to go through. The chasm is in between early adopters and innovators to the, you know, early majority and the late majority. So that's the gap. It's some of the, almost the vast majority of new technology just dies in that gap because it can't reach the majority. So I think it's smart for them to focus on the crypto enthusiasts so that they can get a foundational business and then grow it from there. Because what that book is about, Crossing the Chasm, it's people like you and I, the early adopters and the innovators. We sell it to the masses, right? Because we become the sales force, right? We become the mouthpiece for it. But that's why to target us. Don't worry about the majority. Don't try and market to them because they won't get it. We have to explain it to them by first becoming evangelists, right? So I think that's smart from a business standpoint. it's going to be easier to sell this RPG to the crypto enthusiasts if it's crypto oriented. So that's good phase one. They can evolve it later on, and then we can sell it to everyone else. However, they are still taking a risk that Ethereum is going to scale or increase its network processing capacity in time for this game taking off. So yeah, you know what I mean? I suppose they're assuming that however long it's going to take them to release the game, say it's this long, they're assuming that Ethereum's going to scale at some point along the way to support the Neon game, right? Otherwise it's going to fall victim to the CryptoKitties phenomenon, isn't it? Right. Back to their site though, it says here, which you may have just seen that on their official page, down here it says game development 42%. So that's game is 42% developed according to their site, but I don't know how long it took them to get from 0 to 42%, right? If we did know that, we could roughly estimate, you know, in a linear fashion, how long the game's going to take to be ready. And then from there, we'd be able to work out if we think Ethereum is going to start scaling up to the next level by then to support the game. But there's too many unknowns there, right? And of course, you know what's coming next. I'd much rather than build it on EOS, but I also understand that EOS is not perfect, and EOS comes with certain trade-offs, right? You know, I understand that, and those trade-offs, some people just can't stomach them, and I appreciate that as well. So I'm not ever saying that EOS is the be-all and end-all of you know, blockchain technology and app platforms. I'm just saying it's my favorite one. That's all I can say. And I also recognize it's imperfect, so that's fine. And speaking of EOS, I'm going to segue into the next story now. It's been about 3 weeks since I featured EOS directly on the channel, so here's a nice tool that I came across. So you might have heard of this one. It's DappRadar. It's DappRadar.com. But they've added this section here, EOS Dapps Beta, or Beta, depends which country you're from, I suppose. Now, I don't think this is a brand new tool. It's just added this EOS section on recently. And this is exactly the kind of tool that I was asking for on the show a few weeks ago. And if you notice the type of apps that have been listed here, so far there's like 10, top 10, and they're all new because, you know, I suppose they've only just launched this. But notice the types of apps that are on here. We've got, because there's a category, right? So far, it's mostly, like 70% of them, are games or gambling, right? And again, for me, this has to be phase one of DApp adoption and the DApp revolution. You've got to provide apps to groups of people who actually want to use them. So again, you really need to target the problems, the biggest problems that blockchain technology solves. So yes, content publishing platforms, yes, supply chain management. Actually, content publishing and censorship resistance is actually more important than, say, supply chain management. But we always come back to the same fact when talking about this, don't we? Which is the infrastructure for the internet evolved in response to the heavy load placed on it by consumption of things like pornography. That's a fact, right? And because of the demand from that consumption, it pushed the technology to innovate and innovate and innovate. And actually, streaming video on YouTube, right? That's got a lot to thank the porn industry for, right? Same principle applies here, right? People want to play games, provably fair blockchain games, and people want to gamble in a fair way, right? And trust is becoming the thing, right? And trustlessness is what we want. So I'm more than happy for these apps to be, you know, put on EOS and to put EOS through its paces, right? And give it a chance to prove itself, right? Without any sort of mission critical apps being put on EOS and then faltering. I mean, if the game goes slightly wrong, they can fix it, make people whole, give them the money back, whatever, it's fine. But, you know what I'm saying? Rather than some seriously mission critical stuff being put on the blockchain before EOS has proved itself. And again, I'm no fool. EOS is still new. Yeah, it's still got a lot of flaws, right? It's fine. That's why I'm saying let's put games and flipping gambling apps on it. Let's mash it with these apps and then let EOS prove itself, right? So this actually displays all the stats that I personally want to know. So what we got? We got the category, we got number of users in the last 24 hours, which is, I suppose that's like the number of EOS accounts, different EOS accounts that have used the app in the last 24 hours. That's actually quite easy to do on EOS. Then what else we got here? Volume in the last 24 hours and volume in the last 7 days measured in EOS, and then 24-hour transaction volume and 7-day transaction volume. So this is interesting. The volume, it measures it in EOS. So check out EOS bet, which is number 2. So EOS bet in the last 7 days, if we just take off the decimal places, 3.7 million EOS has gone through that app in the last 7 days. 3.7 million EOS. That's huge. Say it was 3 million EOS and EOS was $5. That's $15 million of volume. $15 million. It's gobsmacking. When the EOS bet is in beta right now, and they only have the dice game so far. I am still gobsmacked. I mean, of course, I wrote the notes for this. Then even when I said it, like, I was kind of gobsmacked. Again, it's just so huge. With zero marketing, really, it just kind of went viral in the EOS community. I've played it. I've played it a couple of times to try it out. It's actually brilliant, right? I'm no big gambler, but I had to try it out. And they give you this little bet receipt, and it shows you what dice roll you bet on, what the outcome was, the hash, how much you bet, how much you won. I actually won both times because I like bet something with a 90% probability of winning. You say, oh, I bet I can roll less than 90, on 100 dice, and then that's a 90% chance of success. There's a slight edge in favor of the app because that's their sort of fee, if you like, because it's free to play, but they're going to keep a small fraction based on the statistical advantage, that they have. So there's still a house edge, if you like, and that's how they sustain the business. But it's provably fair, right? So they can't game the system. It's pretty good. But I was just gobsmacked by the amount of volume going through there. So in the last 24 hours, what we got? 78,000 transactions in a day, right? And 400 users. It's pretty sweet. And this is only the first game. It's only the first game. Dice is relatively simple. And I'm not going to show EOS Dice on the show today. I kind of wanted to do a dedicated video about it because it's kind of brilliant. It's a real good example of what EOS is capable of. And they've designed it really nice as well. It's not just some bare bones thing. It's really nice. So if you want to know what any given app does, by the way, on this, you can actually click on them, and most of them have their own page. I don't think the EOS games have got their own page yet, and if not, they just link straight to their actual site. So if I hit EOS bet dice, it's going to open up a new tab, and it's also got a referral link here so you can introduce your friends and earn a little bit of commission on it. These are all the people playing it. I said I wasn't going to feature it, and then I went and did. But you can watch people rolling the dice and winning and losing and so on. And people do lose every now and again, so you got to. Otherwise, it's going to bankrupt the house, isn't it? So first impressions, the actual DappRadar site itself is just really nicely designed. Like these tools are getting better over time, so I'm pleased by that. There's also an Ethereum section as well, if you notice that over here, look, Ethereum dApps as well. So that's why I say this has probably been around for a little while, and they've just added the EOS section to it. Now, Kevin Rook, not heard of this guy before, but pointed out on Twitter, here's the tweet. He says here, dApps with more than 300 daily active users. Five of those apps exist on Ethereum, and 3 of those apps exist on EOS. Most popular dApp by weekly volume is EOS Bet on EOS with $18 million at time of his writing, and IDEX on Ethereum, which had shifted the equivalent of $7.3 million. That's actually where I got the original title for this video from, right? Score Ethereum 5, EOS 3. The reason that's remarkable is because EOS has been around less than 2 months as a live net. Ethereum's been around 2+ years. I'm just saying. This is where I struggle because don't say don't. Positive focus. I want to be objective. I am largely objective, right? However, objectivity doesn't mean being neutral about everything. And the reason I keep coming back to EOS is because I understand I've got a bias, but I believe that bias comes from knowledge, right? So I'm aware of the bias, and I make a conscious effort to actually look away from EOS a lot of the time, right? You may or may have noticed that. But every time I do that, some kind of news comes out or hard facts like this data that EOSBet has shifted $15 million of EOS through its system, and it's working, right? And EOS has 3 dApps being used by more than 300 people per day. Only having been at live for 2 months, Ethereum, only has 5 after 2 years. And these are all numbers. These are hard facts. And I just look at these facts and I go, well, that's remarkable, right? And so these facts kind of pull me back towards EOS. And I can't help it. It's just I'm looking at the data and I'm like, EOS looks good by the numbers. So, as long as that keeps happening, I'm going to keep EOS as my favorite dApp platform, right? So yeah, let me know what you think to that in the comments below. You've got to use reason, logic, and evidence though, because that's what I just used just then. All right. All righty then. That's pretty much all I've got for you today. So if you liked this video, go ahead, hit the like button. If you disliked it, you can hit the dislike button if you like. And please leave me a comment below with some feedback. And of course, get subscribed to the channel. And if you would like access to my very best material, well, you can check out my website, which is cryptoversity.com. And you can learn how blockchain technology works. You can do that by taking the Digital Money Revolution course. You can learn how to make and save money with Bitcoin by taking the Secrets of the Bitcoin Triangle course. Or you can learn how to make money trading cryptocurrencies with the Master Crypto Trader course right down there. You'll also find links to all of my social networks on the site. If you actually click on the podcast page, it lists all the social networks. You can follow me, whichever is your favorite social network. Other than that, I will be back with the next episode of the Cryptoverse. So until then, it's me, Chris Coney, saying bye for now.